magic, baby. Turn motherfucking lights down. Let's go. What up?
What up, homie?
I mean, it's what you expected, ain't it? Let's go. Turn the music up in the headphones. Yeah, that's perfect.
Right.
You gotta take your time, make the weight on this motherfucker. Make me mad and shit. Like, I usually just start rapping after 4 bars, but go in. Just start dancing this motherfucker. Yeah. You just come out of nowhere. I feel like a black Republican. Money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood. I got love for them. Can't clean my act for good. Too much thugging them. Probably in the back in the hood. Like, we've been huddling over the oven. We was like brothers then. Though you was nothing other than the son of my mother's friend. We had governing. Who would have thought the love would end? Like Ice Cold album. All good things. Never thought we sing the same song that all hoods sing. Thought it was all wood grain. All good brain. We wouldn't bicker like the other fools. Talk good game. Never imagined all the disaster that one could bring. Could bring. Should blame the game. And I could. It's kill or be killed. How could I refrain? If forever be in debt, and that's never a good thing. So the pressure for success can put a good strain on a friend you call best, and yes, it could bring out the worst in every person, even the good and sane. Though we rehearsed it, it just ain't the same. When you put the game at age 16, then you mix things like cause, jury, and miss thing. Jealousy, ego, and pride, and this brings it all to a head like a coin. Cha-ching, the root of evil strikes again, this could sting. Now the team got beef between the post and the point. This puts the ring in jeopardy. And definitely black Republican money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood, I got love for them. Can't clean my act for good, too much thugging them. Probably in the back of the hood. I'm like,
I feel like a black militant taking over the government. Can't turn my back on the hood, too much love for them. Can't clean my act up for good, too much thugging them. Probably in the back of the hood. I'm like, get this. I'm back in the hood. They like, hey, Nas. Blowing on perk, reflecting on their lives. Couple of fat cats, couple of AIs. Dreaming of fly shit instead of them gray skies. Grade 5s, hate eyes, wishing our rain dies. Pitch sling pies and niggas they sing why. Guess they ain't strong enough to handle a jail time. Weak minds keep trying, follow the street signs. I'm standing on the roof of my building. I'm feeling the whirlwind of beef, I inhale it. Just like an acrobat, ready to hurl myself through the hoops of fire. Sipping 80 proof, bulletproof under my attire. Could it be the forces of darkness against hood angels of good that form street politics? Makes a sweet honest kid turn illegal for commerce to get his feet out of them Converse. That's my word.
Like a black Republican money keep coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood, I got love for them. Can't clean my act for good, too much thugging them. Probably in the back of the hood.
I feel like a black militant taking over the government. Can't turn my back on the hood, too much love for them. Can't clean my act up for good, too much thugging them. Probably in the back of the hood. I'm like, get this.
I know you can feel the magic, baby. Turn motherfucking lights down. Let's go. What up?
What up, homie?
I mean, it's what you expected, ain't it? Let's go. Turn the music up in the headphones. Yeah, that's perfect.
Right.
You gotta take your time, make the weight on this motherfucker. Make me mad and shit. Like, I usually just start rapping after 4 bars, but go in. Just start dancing this motherfucker. Yeah. You just come out of nowhere.
I feel
feel like a black Republican. Money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood. I got love for them. Can't clean my act if I could. Too much thugging them. Probably in the back in the hood. Like, we've been huddling over the oven. We was like brothers then. Though you was nothing other than the son of my mother's friend. We had governing. Who would have thought the love would end? Like Ice Cold album. All good things. Never thought we sing the same song that all hood sing. Thought it was all wood grain. All good brain. We wouldn't bicker like the other fools.
Voting yes for Watson Island is an investment in us. With $9 million in funding for affordable housing, thousands of jobs for our community, and space for nonprofit organizations that support us. Our community wins when we vote yes for Watson Island. Voting yes means hundreds of new jobs, $15 million in affordable housing investments, and a new public park for all residents. Join community leaders in voting yes for Watson Island Park number 292 by November 5th.
Like fentanyl have destroyed lives. I'm Sheriff Morris Young. Illicit marijuana laced with illegal drugs like fentanyl have destroyed lives. I know because I've seen it firsthand. Amendment 3 will save lives by making marijuana safe, regulated, and lab tested. Amendment 3 will protect our community from dangerous illegal drugs while allowing law enforcement to focus on serious crimes. Vote yes on Amendment 3, the smarter and safer choice for Florida.
Hey.
Hey, what up, though?
I know. Always trying to get okay. Why are we so big? Oh, there it is.
You go. Because you on the road.
I know. That has nothing to do with it. This is our first time doing ads and trying to put all of that together. It's just StreamYard isn't as smooth as I would like it to be.
I know, but you usually be. What I meant is like usually be in your space shuttle, you know, with the office sign behind, where you know you got everything. Like I can't imagine how you do it. Like if I wasn't in my studio, I'd be like so discombobulated.
It's not even that. The only thing that's missing is my mic. It's still just the same setup with the laptop. It's just more so.
No, it just be like a comfort level for me. Like me being here means like something to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying it's not that much of a difference. For me, it's just more so like I said, my mic and the laptop that I usually use. But
got you.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the damn show, y'all. That Part Podcast. We are so happy to have you here. My name is Papa Keith. You notice I added like my full name, kind of, you know, playing with it. Papa Keith Walcott. I am a radio personality on 103.5 The Beat, iHeartRadio. On from 3 to 7, Monday through Saturday with my co-host Kimmy B, where I mix live on the radio. And I'm also the founder of Just Vote Period, an initiative created to engage our youth in the voting process and democracy. And over there is a beautiful, lovely, very busy and talented Janae Tate.
Hey, y'all. Do I look foul? I feel like I need a little sponge or something. I feel greasy.
Nah, you good, girl.
Running in here, trying to get in here.
You're looking like Black Magic right now. You're looking great.
Oh, fine. You're just fine. I'm still gonna pat her up a little bit.
That's what's up. Well, while you pat her up, Janae Tate is the CEO of High Low News, our hyper local news that we get through our email platform and social media on Instagram and other ways. And it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's the way that I get my news here in South Florida, especially things that pertain directly to me. She gets to the point, cuts out the fluff, unbiased. Love it. So keep up the great work with that. High Low News.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Shout out to our producer as well, Derica.
Yes.
In the
First of
background.
all, the song today is so apropos.
She be on it because even our promo video, the song
Yes.
was dropping. Yeah.
No, like she has a special gift for that.
She
And
does.
Derica also too has double duty. She's at that part podcast show producer, but she's also the managing editor for High Low News. So all of the content, people think I'm the brains, and like a lot of our viral moments, we're really all of them has been Derica. So like she has a really good creative eye. And she holds a special place in my heart because she's my little sister.
Yes.
And she's always been that creative. So it's pretty cool to work with her. But thank you, Derica, because you keep us together.
That's what's up. So without further ado, today we have a very special show. We're really excited about it, right, Janae? Because if you've been watching our podcast from the beginning, we try to, we are what do you call us again? Nonpartisan, and you know what I'm saying, and all that good stuff.
We
but
we want to hear from everybody.
We want to hear from everybody. Sometimes it's hard to get people who seemingly are on, I guess, the right.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult to get them. It's not like we don't try, we don't want it. So we were able to get we were able to get a Black Republican that is voting for Trump to talk with us on the show today. Goes by the name of Shelley Wynter. Right. And shout out to your fiance for helping make that happen. It's a team effort here at That Part Podcast 305. Yep. So he chipped in and got that done. So big shout out to Tantas. But I'm excited about it because I wanted this, and just to let y'all know, like, how we do it. We're not CNN, we're not MSNBC, we're not Fox. So we're not here to go back and forth and argue. We're here to
not a debate.
It's not a debate, right? We're allowing people to speak and explain to us why they feel the way they do, and then we can talk about it in the aftermath. You know what I mean? That's what it's for. But we're not here to go back and forth with people. We're not here to challenge people based on their beliefs or how they feel. We're here to be open and make this a comfortable place for people to come and speak what they believe is their truth. We will fact check, we'll do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Janae's a journalist, so she ain't having it. She will step in if she feels something is off or not right. But by no means are we here to attack any of our guests. We treat them fairly, with respect and love. You know what I'm saying? And so what happened? What'd I do?
Because I feel that it's kind of effed up that we even have to give this type of disclaimer for our, right-leaning guests. Because here's the tea. And we've been fact-checked on some of the Democrats that have been on our show, and they're like, this is just not true or accurate. And so it's just kind of, and I get it because Republican or Trump has this, and DeSantis have these things of lying and not telling full truths. So it's kind of like we have to give this disclaimer, but it's almost like, please don't get it twisted. Everybody that comes on here is not always telling the most accurate thing, and we're not stopping them in the moment either.
Right. So that's a good point. And then on top of that, I would also add that this is the first time we're actually getting somebody like that. I just wanted to kind of express that to the audience because they're so used to us just having, a lot of people who lean left on the show. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, let them know that this is a place of love and what to expect. And not to be disappointed, in the sense of if they expect us to have this bravado or this kind of energy, you know what I mean? We don't even talk about, who we voting for like that on this show. We just keep it just a easygoing vibe. If those who know us know what time it is, and that's that.
And before you get into it, I want to let everybody know, if you were watching early on the show, we have our first advertiser. So yay. So if you guys would like to be advertisers of That Part podcast, you can do it as a video ad or live read. And so we already starting. Y'all better get on the train before we leave it, okay? Because when we become like Earn Your Leisure and the Read and all the other big Joe Rogans and all the other people podcasts, don't try to come over here trying to come get something for 50 cents, because I'm gonna look you dead in your face and say no, okay? So come in early, be an early supporter. Thank you to our advertisers. We have some political ads that we're running. So on Replay Game, you can play it back to see who's supporting us. Like I said, we're nonpartisan. We're just providing the platform. We're not co-signing or endorsing anything. We're just saying, hey, you want to get your message to our audience? Here it is, you know, as long as you ain't saying nothing where you hurting people or being hateful or being violent. You know, we're welcoming, you know, most advertisers. So just want to give that disclaimer and that quick commercial and plug for people, let them know we elevating. And then also too, when before you get into the intro, I just want to let people know we are going to be watching it live with you. So we're doing it like a streamer. So when you see us on the side, just know we're showing you a pre-recorded video, but we're watching it live with you because we want to react and see your reaction in real time. So I know that was confusing the last 2 times we did it. So I'm like, we got to start telling them before we start what's going on.
Seriously. So if you like my outfit now, it's going to change.
But it'll be back at the end.
yeah, it'll be back. But at the end of the day, we are super appreciative of everyone tapping in. And I would say this, Janae, I don't know. I think something wrong with my donation button on Just Vote period, because for the last, what episode is this, like 6?
Yeah,
you know, I've been talking about this will be the 6th episode. So the last 5 episods, I don't know if my donation button is working because I haven't seen like donations coming in. So what I'm gonna ask is everybody in there, I just want to make sure it's working. Just $5. Everyone in here can afford $5.
What's
right? Especially if you're voting yes on 3 in Florida, you know what $5 could do. All right. So what I'm asking is everyone that's in here watching, everyone, even if you're my mom or a family member or one of my children,
or your girl, your kids, my cousin,
my children, I would like you to go to justvoteperiod.com and hit the donate button and just donate $5. I just want to make sure the donate button is working.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, be tripping sometimes, you know, like I know there's no way 5 times in a row I could be talking about this and none of my family members or nobody I know done donated. So I'm not even mad at you. I'm mad at the donate button. Something got to be wrong with it. So
I was like, wait, what's wrong with the Just Vote site? God damn, we just got
So we're going to fix that problem. But
put some dollar signs in the comments once you if you support us.
Yes. No, they even got to do that. The donate button will do it for you. All right, listen, we ain't gonna hold you. Thank you so much again, Janae, for getting our first sponsor. That was all you, and I appreciate you as always, Janae. You know that. Big fan. All right, so we are ready to introduce our Black Republican guests.
I'm so excited about this show.
All right. Shelley Wynter is a traditionalist and conservative who desperately wants America to return to a time when morals, values, education, and marriage were honored and cherished. He's not a Republican, so he said he'll address that, or a Democrat. He's listed as a swing voter in Vote Builder. This is what he's most proud of. His heroes are Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, Star Packer, Jack Kemp, and he's always loved and admired Donald Trump way before he became president. His mother loves him, so she says, but she also does not know where his opinions come from. As she says, they certainly did not come from her. He is a reformed sinner who goes to church on the big 3 days, but knows all too well the power of prayer. Shelley's also a member of the Georgia Black Republican Council. Shelley is engaged to April McDonald, He loves talking to what he calls the smartest radio audience in Atlanta on 95.5 FM, WSB Atlanta's News and Talk, every weeknight from 7 to 10 on the Shelley Wynter Show. So obviously he's not in the room now, and we had to pre-record this because he's doing his show live right now. So without further ado, we're going to take you through the porthole to where we did this interview. It's Shelley Wynter.
Yay!
Welcome, Shelley Wynter.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to do this with us.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Shelley.
No problem. No problem.
Cool. So we're going to jump right into it. So I'll kick off the questions for you. So Shelley, how did your upbringing shape your conservative values, especially considering that you've expressed that your mother often questions where your opinions come from?
I was raised, I'm from Harlem, New York. Born and raised in Harlem, went to private schools from 5th grade. My mom was a school teacher, so she kind of understood that New York City public schools were not the best. So she sent me to private school. And I was very much a Democrat. You know, coming up, I voted. My first vote I ever cast was, I believe, in Syracuse, my freshman year, 83, I believe, because I think the election was 84. The first vote I cast was in 83, was in a primary, was for Jesse Jackson. So I was a Democrat. And, you know, I was typical of a New Yorker, of a Harlem man. My family's very tight with Charlie Rangel. And all the local politicians. I was ecstatic when David Dinkins got elected mayor. But one of the, so I was traditional, you know what I mean? I was, you know, like everybody else. But my family's from Jamaica.
Okay.
So the history of my family is, 3 sisters, one by one, moved to New York. And they all married 2 men were good friends, and the third man was a kind of associate of theirs. So they all married 3 friends. And one sister and her husband, they lived in Brooklyn. Another one's lived in the Bronx, and my grandmother and grandfather lived in Harlem. And so the conservatism, not political conservatism, but the social conservatism really came from that West Indian upbringing. Get a good education, work hard, you know, marry your girlfriend if she gets pregnant, or just get married, raise a family, stay tight, all that kind of stuff. We are very family oriented. We used to go on bus rides, the whole family. Christmas was a series of opening gifts at one aunt's house, having light hors d'oeuvres, moving to my grandmother's house where there was a full dinner, and then the adult party where the kids were in the back room at the third sister's house. So that's how I grew up. What was interesting is you asked the question, how did I, you know, become conservative? A series of things happened in my life. The first was, I remember when David Dinkins got elected, I was on 125th Street watching the returns with a group of people in a storefront that was a campaign headquarters. And I will never forget when they announced he won, I said, yay, you know, we got a black mayor now. And I'll never forget, there's a young man, he became Prince's attorney. Lonnie, I forgot Lonnie's last name, but Lonnie was an attorney. Londell McMillan, that's it, not Lonnie, Londell McMillan. He's the one that became Prince's attorney and worked with Prince when he became the symbol to take his publishing and all of that stuff. I'll never forget Londell looking at me at the time and saying, well, let's not be happy yet. Let's see what he does. And that was kind of the first time somebody had just not been happy with the election of an African American. And as it turns out, I knew David Dinkins personally. I think he was a great mayor, but he made a series of missteps. The first being a drug dealer was thrown off, allegedly thrown off the roof. He ran from the cops in Washington Heights. The cops chased him up on a roof. They said they threw him off. He jumped, tried whatever, but he was killed. And Mayor Dinkins at that time said they would pay for his funeral. And a lot of people were outraged because people had died before that. You know what I mean? Particularly black people. And then the second misstep that he made was when a Hasidic Jewish man had hit a young Haitian boy in Crown Heights, sparking off three or four nights of rioting. David Dinkins sided with the Jewish community in that case. Now, there's no right or wrong in these situations. It's just who you decide to speak up for, as opposed to real leadership says, hey, calm things down. We're going to, work this out, whatever. But he decided to take a side. And that's when the African-American community started to distance themselves from David Dinkins. And that's when I started to kind of wake up to the idea that, okay, because they're a Democrat or because they're African-American or because they're a man, whatever the case may be, your actions matter more than anything else. I was the last thing that happened. This is all while I was still in New York. I was not an ad director, but I was in charge of advertising for Emerge magazine, which at the time was a upscale African-American news magazine. And I was in charge. I was kind of the print guy because BET owned us. So they had the TV sales guys and Emerge. I was kind of the guy for Emerge, but everybody sold. You didn't need to know that part, but I talk a lot, so excuse me. So one day, the BET, there were 3 African Americans that worked there, and we went to lunch all the time. And as you can imagine, in those days, the sales staff of BET was mostly white because the buyers were mostly white. So it wasn't anything but business, right? But so 3 of us were the only African Americans besides our advertising. The head of advertising were the only African Americans. So we used to go to lunch a lot, the 3 of us, and just shoot the stuff, So one day, this particular day, I got into a knockdown drag out with Ray was his name, about politics. At this point, I'm a hardcore Democrat. I know my issues. I know the issues. And he was a Republican, a black Republican. And we got so loud, the Chinese restaurant asked us to leave without paying because we got so loud, he and I back and forth. When I left there, I got home that night and I realized that night, I was like, wow, this guy, 1, stayed so calm throughout the entire time. Number 2, I had no answers for the things that he was saying to me. I only knew what I knew. And I learned a very valuable lesson at that time. I did not know what I did not know, which was very important because I could not, address any of the facts that he was actually telling me. And so I also realized that I was extremely emotional. And all the arguments I had were about they're racist or this and that. There were no factual basis of my arguments. They were just things that I had gathered throughout my life from hearing from others. So the next day at work, I asked him, I said, hey man, where did you know all that stuff from? And he told me to get a book called Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. And I urge everybody listening to me right now to get that book, to be introduced, not to conservatism, but just to be introduced to kind of facts that will change the way you view the world. And after I read that book, I was like, man, I've been wrong all my life. And it just so happens a couple years after that, I moved to Georgia. That's pretty much conservative Republican run. And when I first got here, I wasn't really, I wasn't heavy into politics like I am now. But the interesting thing that I noticed was Atlanta was going through the exact same thing I saw Harlem going through. And that was gentrification, but gentrification at the hands of black leaders. So in other words, you had these projects being raised, burnt, taken down, and high-end condo buildings being put in their place, and the black people being dispersed. And I saw the same thing in Harlem. And so I say, wow, this is kind of not a black-white thing. This is not even a Democrat-Republican thing. This is a class thing. And then being in Georgia, I started reading more. I just started getting more into the politics. And that's when I realized that, wow, you know what I mean? Your upbringing combined with your new knowledge, you are a conservative. You're a Republican. You're not a Democrat. And that's where I got to now. When that comment about my mom not understanding my opinions, she understands my conservatism. She doesn't understand my support of Trump. That's what that statement means.
Can't wait to get to that one. I have a couple follow-ups. You spoke on some things that really were near and dear. I also grew up in New York. The case that you talked about in Crown Heights, I was a little boy there. I lived 2 blocks from where the incident happened on Crown Street between New York and Nostrand. So a lot of what you're saying is like, wow, it's so surreal. And I feel like I am along that similar path, you know what I mean? And for me, I would say this, you said something that really made me think, and I've always wanted to have an opportunity to say it, so why not say it on our podcast, right, Janae?
Yeah.
In conversations that I've had with other people about politics and religion, the difference that I like to believe I have from them is that I've tried both. I know what it is to be religious, and I know what it is to be an atheist. I know what it is to be a Democrat, and I know what it is to be a Republican. I've done both on both sides, so I can speak to it. So sometimes it's a little frustrating speaking to people who only see it from one side, who could only talk about it, like you said, from one side. You can't really respond. You're moving with it. You're talking about emotions and all these different things. And I find like 80% of the conversations that I try to have, I'm really dealing with people who have not tried anything else but what they've been doing or what they've been taught to do. Because even with religion, which we won't get into now, we were all pretty much forced into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we were just kind of stuck with it, and we were taught to fear it and then never question it. So as a young boy, I questioned everything. And that's when I started separating myself and wanted to understand what it was on the other side. So I totally get, everything you're saying, and just crazy enough, just listening to you, I'm like, wow, it's so relatable. Janae, I don't know if you wanted to touch on anything before I go to the next question.
No, I like your feedback on it, or like what you said, because I know you being, Trinidadian and from New York, like I see you relating to what Shelley is saying on a different level.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely do. And they have the saying that we're more alike than we are different, right? So
Absolutely.
there you go, right? So according to your bio, and contrary to popular belief, you consider yourself to be a swing voter. What issues matter most to you when deciding who to vote for?
Well, I vote mostly Republican, but because of where I've lived, cities I've lived in the city of Atlanta. Sometimes the only opportunities to vote were Democrats. So I have voted for Democrats before. I voted for Obama twice, and not the second time. The second time, I felt pressured to. But the first time I didn't agree with many of his policies, but the 2 things I did agree with on Obama was, one, I agreed with hope and change. I agreed with changing the government, changing the way we do government, to changing the way we conduct ourselves in foreign policy. And then the second reason was, I, as a conservative, did not then believe that racism is this overwhelming issue that we deal with every day, that has to be front and center of our lives on a near 24/7 basis. And so I felt that if we elected a Black president, that would go away as a crutch for millions and millions of baby boys and girls. Little did I know his foreign policy would have matched George Bush's perfectly. We would have stayed in every war. We would have continued doing the things we were doing foreign policy wise. And little did I know that people would be convinced that racism got worse after he was elected twice. Those things I could not foresee. But why? When I say I'm a swing voter, I mostly vote Republican. I vote down ballot Republican, but because I have voted for Democrats before, and I may vote for a Democrat again, if if the person you're running against don't align with me, I can divorce myself from the party in that particular election. My support for Trump has little to do with my support for Republicans as much as it does have to do with my support for him specifically. And it's the same thing with Barack. When I voted for Barack, I voted for Republicans down ballot. That's what I mean by that statement in my bio. And then I like the fact, and I also like the fact that as a swing voter, technically, quote unquote, I get everybody asking me for their vote. And so then I get to make a decision. And nobody on either side is saying Shelley's going to vote for me no matter what. I like people to tell me what they want to do and how they want to secure my vote and what they're going to do.
Got you. Thank you.
And thank you for breaking that down.
I'm a fine dude in a bar with a lot of options, and I don't want to give away my option when I first walk in the bar. I'm gonna let the ladies come to me for a little bit, go to them, play my cards all night long until the very end. Last call comes up, I make a decision then.
Gotcha.
Not now though. Now I'm thoroughly in love with a beautiful woman, AMAC the lawyer, we call her, and shout out to her. God bless you, honey. I love you very much. Mwah.
Oh, that's so sweet. You better have thrown that in there. But Shelley, just to dig in a little deeper on that question, are there any specific things that you're looking for when you're voting for somebody?
Yeah.
Is it foreign policy, economic, healthcare? Like, what are some of those things that you're looking for?
I apologize. You did ask me that. I apologize. My number one issue is school choice. I am 100% school choice supporter. If you support school choice, you'll get my vote. Next is immigration. I come from a family of immigrants. When they came here, there wasn't an idea of, becoming a citizen. You're just here. Then in the 60s, they changed that. But they all did, what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it. And so immigration, I believe that this country is made stronger by legal immigration, not illegal immigration where you don't know who's here. And also I don't want us to be the world's police. I've always advocated, I don't like the fact that we're the world's police. If something happens across the world, I don't believe that our blood and toil and our resources should go to that country because it matches some broader, I'm told, geopolitical aims. Because what I've seen over the course of our relative history here in this relative history of this country is that those geopolitical aims usually have more to do with corporate interests than it has to do with spreading democracy or some other foolish catchphrase. So I am one, I'm an isolationist, but that's not 100%. In other words, I understand there are times where we need to help people. I also understand there are many more times where people need to help themselves. If an evil dictator attacks a country, that's between that country and that dictator to solve amongst their own. There's no reason for us to send money, resources, and everything else over there. Because what I found over the course of our recent history of doing that is that a lot of people are enriched. And it's not me, it's not you, and it's not the men dying on the battlefield.
That part.
And can you expound on your support of school choice and break that down for people who may not know?
So my mom was a public school teacher. She understood that the New York City schools were not that good because she was in them. She saw it. And so she used her school choice by, I saw these letters years later. I went to a all-boys school in 5th to 8th grade, St. Bernard's. Well, when she applied for me to go to St. Bernard's, she wrote these letters basically saying our apartment was rat infested. We had no food. My dad left us when I was a baby and she hadn't seen him. And none of this was true. None of it was true. As a matter of fact, I grew up in an all black condo. co-op building, where you had to buy your apartment outright cash. You know what I mean? So like, that's how I grew up. And I was like, when I saw these letters, I was like, what is this? She was like, yeah, white people have guilt. So I used their guilt against them, and they let you in because they felt sorry. And you're already smart, so I didn't have that hurdle to jump, that you were dumb. So I just had to get you in front of them. And so it's all these letters. I got a scholarship, everything like that. But she was a public school teacher who understood that the schools were not equipped, and they weren't safe, they weren't equipped, and they were just moving people through. And she wanted me to get a great education. So school choice. That was school choice back then. Do whatever you can to get your kid in this, give your kid this opportunity. She couldn't afford to pay, so she had to get me in, through a scholarship. And I tell that story. People always say, well, she lied or whatever. I was like, no, she did what she had to do to get her son the best education he could receive. And that's what school choice is. Now it's formalized in policy. And I believe that a mom, father, whoever it is, parent, guardian, if they have a child that they don't want to send to the neighborhood public school, they should have a means and a way to send that kid to the school of their choice. And what school choice really is, and this is what I learned from my mom, what school choice really is, it's parents, good parents, concerned parents, involved parents having their children in school with other good parents, concerned parents, involved parents. Not all parents are great parents. Some parents literally send their kids to school to get them out the house. It's almost like a babysitter all day. They don't know what the kids are doing. They don't know what the kids are learning. They don't care to know. They're not involved. And that's no judgment. That's a fact. But there are many parents out there, single moms, married couples, whatever, who are stuck in neighborhoods where they're bad public schools. They should have an opportunity and a means to get their kids in a better school so they can work, make sure the kids are. My mom knew my homework. She knew where I was all the time. She was an involved parent. Not everybody in my neighborhood had involved parents. And school choice really is not about the kids as much as about parents being around other like-minded parents who are involved in PTA, who are involved in fundraising, who are involved in parent-teacher meetings and that kind of thing.
Wow. I have a similar situation with that one too, Janae.
Oh, yeah?
My father
how you went
up to the Board of Ed because my neighborhood schools, although the area we lived in was middle class, the neighborhood schools were really, really bad. So he went up to the Board of Ed and spoke to them, gave them some story, and got me into James Madison High, which was out in a white
better school.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just had to get on a train to go.
Yeah. A train and a bus.
Yeah. I had to take a bus in 5th to 8th grade, then I took a train and a bus to high school.
Yep. Same here.
Gotcha. Thank you for breaking that down, Shelley. And I know some the Democrats watching are going to be like, well, it takes away from the public schools, and why not just support improving the public schools? But I appreciate you breaking down like your views on why you support school choice. And I actually haven't really heard it broken down like that.
Let me say this. So let me say this. The monies in most, so school systems get their money from property taxes. So by definition, a school where there are a lot of renters are not going to have the resources that a school will have where you have a lot of homeowners. So until we change the way in which we fund schools, you're going to have this problem, right? So the issue becomes, if I'm a parent of a small kid and you have not figured out a better way to fund schools, and the school in my neighborhood is bad, I'm not going to expect that parent to wait until their kid is out of school for you to fix the problem. Like, give them the opportunity to choose while you fix the problem. That way, the parents have an opportunity. Because the way it is now, we're literally keeping kids in failing schools because we can't fix the problem. And so the short fix is school choice. the broader long-term fix is changing the way we fund education in this country, but also fixing the schools to where they're all good.
This conversation is literally on the heels of about 6 schools looking to close in Broward County.
Wow. Public schools?
Yep.
Wow.
Public schools.
PK, you could take the next question since I've had
Absolutely.
so many follow-ups.
Absolutely. So we often hear Black Republicans refer to the Republican Party history as an anti-slavery party, as the reason that they support the party now. How do you reconcile that loyalty with anti-Black policies from presidents like Nixon and anti-Black rhetoric from folks like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, actually?
So I'm not one of those. I don't go that far back to talk about the parties, because clearly the parties have changed over the course of this country's history. Hell, the term liberal and conservative has changed considerably. People call themselves liberal, but therefore cracking down on free speech, therefore warmongering, therefore sending arms to Ukraine. So all the terms and definitions have changed over the years. So I kind of try not to use those terms as much. I kind of just just explain my own personal ideology. First of all, Nixon, through Arthur Fletcher, brought in affirmative action. So I'm not sure of the anti-Black policies that Nixon did. I know that he and Arthur Fletcher designed affirmative action. Now, you could say it was anti-Black in that the Congress and the Senate included white women in that, which kind of destroyed the whole idea originally of affirmative action. But Nixon got a considerable amount of Black support because of his policies. When you go to the anti-Black rhetoric of Donald Trump, let's play this game. You tell me one of them, and then I'll answer it. And in that case where I know it's anti-Black rhetoric, I would agree with you, okay? So you tell me the anti-Black rhetoric that Trump has spouted, and let's address it like that.
Okay.
Because the gist of your question assumes that I agree that he has spouted anti-Black rhetoric. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So give me an example. Let's address it that way.
Gotcha.
All right,
so
you wanna go first, Jeanette?
Yeah, just as recent, and this is Trump and J.D. Vance making that harmful allegations against Haitian Americans in Ohio and saying that they're eating pets and eating dogs and cats. And, you know, even from being from Miami, there is a hurtful, dangerous history behind that type of rhetoric where people were getting beat up. Haitians who were fresh from the country, new to Miami, new to the country, because of these stereotypes placed on them from people not understanding their culture and just making these false claims about them. And so that type of rhetoric, was harmful to, Haitians who are Black people who are from the only country in this hemisphere that has fought for their liberation. So that is something to me that was very anti-Black. So can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So you started with saying that people fresh from Haiti were getting beat up. This was before Trump made those comments, right?
Yeah.
So clearly this
in the 80s, yeah.
Right. So clearly this is something that's been going on, particularly in communities with Haitian immigrants long before he made those comments. So if it was Black people in Miami making those comments and doing the beating up, which I assume it wasn't all white people beating up these newly Haitian immigrants, because there weren't that many in that part of the country, in that part of Miami where the Haitians were coming. So clearly there was something there already that existed with the Black community and the newly arrived Haitian community. I saw similar things when what's his name? Papa Doc was the president of Haiti. I saw a similar influx of Haitian immigrants in Brooklyn. I dated a young lady who had just gotten here, and there was similar things going back and forth, similar kinds of stereotypes about voodoo, about sacrifice and things like
AIDS.
that.
Yeah, AIDS as well.
Right, AIDS, exactly. And so that was coming from our own people, right? So if Trump says something similar to what we said 20 years ago, then you're saying that we're racist too. But we won't go down that road. So let's address what he said. The night he said it during the debate, I was on the air. I came on the air live right after the debate. And I got to tell you, I was outraged. I told him it was the dumbest thing. Why, to make your point about illegal immigration, did you say that? Right? It was stupid. It was dumb because you took the issue away from a real issue that people are concerned about, immigration and people being, repatriated in different small towns in America, to about cats and dogs. In his defense, not of the statement, but at a day before the debate, it was trending on Twitter from that community, from an African-American guy who's an activist in that community. He later apologized for putting something out there in a way that made it sound like this was what was going on. But on Twitter, that story was trending from Springfield, Ohio, that cats were being missing. And then people took a woman eating a cat from a yard from another part of town who was mentally ill. They superimposed that over the story. So it was trending, and that's where he got it from. It was stupid. It was ill-advised because it had nothing to do with the real issue that he was addressing, had nothing to do with Haitians or Mexicans or anything else. What it had to do with was taking people that were coming over here and plopping them in middle America in small towns and just filling up these towns. The real issue, so I wouldn't say it was anti-Haitian, because our people have said the same thing going back years about the Haitian people. So I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it racist or anything. I just call it what's been said before. However, that being said, politically it was stupid, because you could have made the exact same point, and which is Springfield, Ohio had a dying economy, a dying town that you just plopped 20,000 people into, and it was already a dying town. Now they're saying the economy is starting to grow because these Haitians are working in the warehouses and in the factories there. So what you've essentially done is put new people as worker bees into these factories, because the other people were on meth, they were on opioids, and it was a dying town. But the opioids, the meth, and all of that was a policy decision when you allow Big Pharma to flood these communities with these pills. So you killed a bunch of people. You didn't save their lives and fix them. You just dropped the whole 20,000 new workers into that town to bring it back. So that's what I would say to that comment.
But Shelley, even him now having the proper information, he still doubled down on it.
He does it because, you know what? I understand. One thing that I do get frustrated with Trump about, but it's also a reason why I kind of mess with him, is that he's not going to tell you he's wrong. And as a man, I kind of get that. You know what I mean? Now I'm on here with y'all. If you guys say, hey, Shelley, you said this earlier and you were wrong, I'm the type of dude to say, okay, I got that wrong. My apology, whatever. But he's just not that dude. And in many ways, a lot of people kind of mess with him for that. I don't particularly, it's one of the things I don't like, but I do understand it, because when you're attacked on everything that you say and do, everything. You remember when he was president, spell check had him type covfefe, and that became a 3-day news story. So if he's made to apologize every time he says something that outrages the media, he's going to be saying, I'm sorry every day, and he's going to look weak. So I agree with you. It's a problem that I have, but I understand why he doesn't do it. Because if everything I say is looked at as a problem, and I'm wrong, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm fact checking, and I apologize every time, I lose all my oomph.
But Shelley, that was like, people are being harmed and there are kids that can't go to school. People have
Right.
gotten death threats. So to me, I get what you're saying. He doesn't like to apologize, and you can't apologize for everything. But when you're being harmful and you're bringing physical harm to people, and it is, there is a level of racism to me. We could agree to disagree on that. But
Right.
I'm like, to me as a leader, like that just shows.
I agree. I
Like,
don't
like, I get it, but I'm like, certain
I
things
don't
you
disagree.
have to atone for,
I don't disagree. Like I said, I don't disagree. I disagree with the racism part because, like I said, black people said the same thing. Black Americans said the
You a
same thing
wrong
about
man
Haitians.
too, though.
Right,
Just because you
right,
said it, I totally
right.
agree.
So I
Black
don't
people are
agree.
dead
I don't
ass
agree with
wrong
the
for doing that to
right.
Haitians.
But what's come out of that story? What's come out of that story is something much bigger. There are black people who are living in Springfield, Ohio, who are being removed from their homes, and here's why. The government is funding the housing for these Haitian migrants, right? Look, I'm not going to call them illegal immigrants. I'm going to call them Haitian migrants, right? The government is funding their homes, their electric bills, everything, right? So if I'm a landlord of a house and I've got a black family living in there at $750 a month, because that's what Springfield, Ohio's market will bear. But then the government's now going to pay for these new group of people coming in here. That family's lease is up. I can get $1,500 for that same house now because the government's paying for it. So now we're displacing actual American citizens who are already struggling because the government has moved 20,000 people into a community that has a large number of African Americans in it who are already struggling with poverty, making ends meet. Now we're making it that much harder. So if you go to Twitter and you put in Springfield, Ohio, you're going to see tweets about the dogs and cats, but you're also going to see tweets of actual black people telling you their story, saying, I just got thrown out of my house because the rent just went up because they're paying for these Haitian migrants. So that's the point he was making, totally in an incorrect way, totally in a foul way. But had he made that point, that's what we should really focus on. Not so much, there are kids that were harmed, they couldn't go to school. That is passed. Those kids are fine now. But there's a family, several families, hundreds of families in Springfield, Ohio right now, American citizens who are black and white, who have no home. So I'm more focused on those families than I am on inconvenience of some kids who couldn't go to school for 1 or 2 days and now back in school and they don't even remember what happened 3 weeks ago.
All right, Shelley, I got one for you. What about the kids in Central Park?
So
and then I just know that I want you to address, but then I want you to address it in a manner of, if those very same kids were white, would he have that same energy? So
let's remember.
And you're referring to the Central Park 5 or the exonerated 5?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
So Papa Keith is from New York, so he's going to know everything I'm saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
That happened in 1989. 1983, New Yorker magazine coined the term wilding, which was a term of black and Hispanic boys moving in packs. They called them wolf packs. The white liberal press called them wolf packs, moving in packs, not necessarily displaying any weaponry, no guns, no nothing, just 5 or 6 young men coming up on you and just kind of looking at you. And, as the rappers used to say, you know what it is, give it up, whatever, right? No armed robbery, nothing, just a show of force, right? So 1983, they coined this term wilding. 1983, I graduated from high school. That summer, that June, late May, June, Diana Ross performed in Central Park.
I was there.
So was I. We spent the night all weekend. Saturday, it started to rain, thunderstorms, lightning started. In the middle of the show, they canceled it. Diana Ross said, don't y'all worry. I love y'all so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Be here tomorrow. Before that, this concert was largely unknown by the masses of New Yorkers because it was sponsored by American Express. It was just people who like Diana Ross. Not a lot of people knew. But because that concert was canceled Saturday night, every single news channel all night long kept talking about Diana Ross is free in Central Park. Diana Ross is free in Central Park. That next day, which was a Sunday, my friends and I were out in the park, concerts going on. there were roving bands of African American and Hispanic men and boys moving through tens of thousands of people in the Great Lawn in Central Park, just taking people's money, taking their jewelry, taking their wallets. And there was nothing anybody could do because there were no cops around, because the cops were on the outside doing crowd control. And because you're so packed in, and most of these 99% of these people were white people, they're just giving up their stuff. The reason why I bring this up is because all along Fifth Avenue and Central Park West, brothers were going up and down the street, just snatching people's purses off of tables. It was just a free-for-all, and it was nothing the cops can do. That was 1983. This kind of crime existed for those 6 or 7 years. So when you got to Central Park 5, it wasn't in a vacuum. It was in a crime-ridden city where crime had gotten much worse. Skip ahead, Times Square, you couldn't even go down there. I couldn't take a date in high school to Times Square for fear of literally my life. So you want to go to the movies at Times Square, you better not be showing up with just you and your girl. Because
they would literally rip out your pockets.
Right. And it's nothing you, right. Just take everything out of your pockets, right? Your shoes, if you had on nice, fresh sneakers, they were gone, right? This is what New York was like at that time. So 1989, Central Park, the New York Post ran a cover story of the victim in the hospital bed. She had tubes up her nose, all over the place, bandages all over her face, and every single New Yorker was outraged, right? You got the white girl, she's a jogger, it's Central Park, everything going on. The 5 young men had when you're interrogated, and they said they did it, confessed. They had confessed to the police. Now, let me stop right there. Most African Americans in Harlem, Brooklyn, places like that, where my brother's from, we kind of knew something was fishy because they had no lawyers with them. The parents weren't allowed in the room, nothing like that. But they confessed, right? And so why? Of course. But you got to understand, in the time, in the moment, none of that is knowledge. None of that is made knowledge. We know that because we all have been in those situations where the cops come on you, tell you you did something, and you're in handcuffs. But greater New York City, white people on the Upper West Side, their only knowledge is they confessed, right? So Trump runs an ad in 3 newspapers one day: the Post, the Daily News, and the New York Times, calling for the death penalty for the perpetrators of this heinous crime. Most people in New York agreed with him, not on the context of actually killing anybody, because New York didn't have the death penalty, but on the outrage. You had Bernie Goetz, who was on a train, got accosted by 3 young brothers, shot them. He went to trial. 90% of New York was behind Bernie Goetz because they were like, yo, what do you do if you're getting, but you're not allowed to carry a gun? So he had gun charges brought against him. This was an out of control city at that time. So he ran this ad. What I'm disgusted by is the fact that a white Democrat prosecutor, white Democrat judge, if it's New York, the vast majority of people on a jury were Democrats. Those are the people who prosecuted the Central Park 5. The whole idea that Trump is the blame for them going to jail when he ran one ad in 3 newspapers one day and one day only, right? And that was it. It died after that. The next day, there was nothing in the newspapers. The idea that he was the cause of this is completely a political narrative that only came to the forefront when he announced he was running for president and he was gaining traction against Hillary Clinton. Because previous to that, he had been on Oprah Winfrey. She never asked him about it. He'd been on sitcoms. They never asked him about it. The Apprentice was on a hit show. They never asked him about it. This was a non-story, by and large, in New York City. Most people weren't outraged by the ads because most people didn't see the ads. Most people didn't care about the ads. Most people were mad that this woman was brutally beat in the head, raped and everything else, and left to die in Central Park, a place where they all know and go and jog. And so the idea that this came out only when he ran and was made to be like it was his fault is really the thing that I laugh at, because at the time, even afterwards, nobody ever brought it up to Donald Trump. Nobody. Apprentice was popular. He was on Oprah. He was on other talk shows. He was in movies as cameos. He was on sitcoms as cameos, many of them black cameos. Rappers rapped about him in their songs, and nobody ever once brought up Central Park 5. Even like Public Enemy at least brought up Elvis. You know what I'm saying? No rapper ever brought up the Central Park 5 until Trump was running for office and he was gaining traction against Hillary and Michelle Alexander, and I believe the other young lady. They made this thing an issue and they did the documentary. But previous to that, this was not an issue. Nobody saw it as racism. Nobody saw it as the worst thing ever.
Thank you for responding to that.
Thank you for the context, because I didn't even know context, because I didn't know the history, you know, behind what was happening. I mean, I did see When They See Us, so they went into it, but just to know that you lived it. So thank you for that. I do think that it exacerbated to like the white, maybe, you know, population in New York or whatever. Like, I do think media plays a role in what people view. So I do see that side of it. Like, he didn't do them any favors by doing that. But to your point, it wasn't something that we knew about. But I do feel like when you know better, you do better. And even now, I saw an article recently that the Central Park 5, or the Exonerated 5, as they like to go by, is suing Donald Trump because he continues to double down on these comments. Like, after knowing what we know, what happened and how that affected these guys who were innocent, black men, black and brown men, it's like, to me, like you said, Trump doesn't do the apology. And to me, it's just like now we know the truth. You know, why keep, you know,
well, that's the thing. The truth,
you know, why double down on it?
Well, the truth is still being debated, because remember, it was de Blasio who exonerated them. The prosecutor still maintains that they're guilty. The woman, if you watch the documentary on it, not the When They See Us, I'm talking about the documentary where they interviewed everybody involved, the detectives, the prosecutor. They still maintain, Bloomberg still maintains. Bloomberg had a chance to exonerate them also. And he looked at the evidence and said, no, I'm not going to do it, because he still maintains. If you ask Michael Bloomberg, who was mayor 2 terms, actually 3 terms, he will tell you he doesn't believe that they're innocent. So that case is totally politically motivated to drive black votes out right now, because it's coming out right now 2 weeks before the election, and it's going to be tossed out because all he's sharing is information that's already out there. So that case is totally politically motivated, totally manufactured outrage in order to drive votes for a guy, for a woman that's actually losing tons of especially black male votes.
You know, that kind of is a perfect segue to one of our questions, and we could just get into it right now. What do you think, especially, and you've been a long time Republican, what do you think is driving the black men, even though they make it seem like it's so many black men, but to the Democrats, any number of us not voting for them is like, oh my gosh. So what do you think is driving black men to the Republican Party, and particularly their support of Trump?
I'll tell you, and I'm going to use an analogy here, right? As a man, right? Clearly, I'm a heterosexual, cisgender, whatever terms. I'm a straight man, right? Black man, love women all my life. So I can only speak from my standpoint of view vis-a-vis women, right? The women that I've dated in my life have never left me for another man. They've always left me because I didn't treat them right. I didn't love them right. I was lying to them. I showed up when I wanted to show up. I wasn't in their corner. I wasn't supportive. All the things women look for in a man. These women left me, right? I'm just using an analogy. They would end up with somebody else, but they didn't leave me for that person. They left me because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do as their lover, their boyfriend, whatever the case may be, right? The same thing has happened with the Democrat Party. Black men are not leaving the Democrat Party for Trump. They're leaving the Democratic Party because they've been lied to, they've been taken advantage of, they've gotten nothing for their vote. Every 4 years, the Democrat Party shows up, screams, hey, he's racist, they're racist. If you look at what the Democrats or the media calls Trump, they said the same thing about Reagan, they said the same thing about HW, and they said the same thing about W. They're racist, white supremacists, they're stupid, C students, and they got there because of narcissism. I mean, because of, nepotism, right? Same talking points, all of them. Bush was racist until Trump came along. Then Trump is the devil. Reagan was the devil until W came along. Like, it's the same thing. So black men, this is the first time in history where you're literally able to see what your life was like under one guy or woman and the other guy. We've never had this before in our history, where I literally can say, okay, what was my life like 2017 to 2020? What's my life been 2021 to now? I can look at that, my own life, not too far back, and say, things are much better then. I'm going to go back to that. And it's purely based on the economy. Like I said, I use that analogy. I tell Republicans all the time, don't think that we've got getting all of these black people to the Republican Party. No, what we're doing is we have an opportunity to talk to them in this moment in time to get them to see us differently. And if they do vote for us in any small number, we've got to do the work to make their lives better if elected. And then you could start to bring more to the Republican Party. But right now, the black men you're talking about, they're just fleeing a bad relationship with the Democrat Party. And that's been happening since Obama. It's been going down, down, down. The Democrats have been losing black support, over the last Obama twice, Hillary, Biden, and now 4 election cycles. And they're not running towards anybody. They're just running away from bad treatment.
Well, I have a different perspective. I can agree with what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing. But the perspective from mine, because like you say, you could only speak to what you've experienced and certain things that you. So for me, it was the weakness. Like I'm not a fan of like weak. Of course, if something is wrong, if a person has an issue, I have the understanding. But I started to see Republicans being unapologetic. They say what they said. And even if it's good, bad, or indifferent, if they said they were going to do something, they kind of did it.
Right. And
so I started to kind of move in that direction as well. I mean, I did move in that direction.
Right.
Just feeling like, in this 2-party system, if I had to make a choice of which is more to, the way how I move, it just seems more like the Republican way. So when you look at, black athletes who have a lot of coin, who are our amen, you know what I'm saying, who are, leaders in some regards and stuff like that. And you started seeing them make the shift years ago. You know what I mean? And then you would start to feel like, oh, they're selling out, right? Selling out because they're probably married to a white woman, 9 out of 10. And then the fact that now they're Republican, but not quite understanding the economic part of it, or how they would love to see like almost like crossing on the other side and being able to say, like how I said earlier, I'm able to see both sides of things. So like I've seen like on the Republican side, it's like, hey, if you give me an opportunity, I can do for myself. I don't need your handout. I don't want to live eating out your hand for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to stand as a man and lead my family, and I don't want whoever I'm with to be like, hey, did you get the check? You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to be able to stand on my own. So I started feeling that as well. Like
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is a major part of it. You know, I was answering Janae's question specifically, but that is a major part of it. That is a major part of it. The embrace of every single Black man I know, either as a family member or someone in their circle or somebody that's LGBT, right? We don't have a problem with that. They don't care about that. I don't care who you love and how you love them, right? Nobody cares about that. What we do care about is when you start telling me things like men can have babies, or when you start telling me that, you know, your kid comes home, they're 5, 6, 7 years old, and they come home and say, we had a man who's dressed as a woman and he's a drag queen and he read a story to us. As a man, you're like, what? No, we're not having that. We're not having that. And so when you start to embrace that, and it's a small percentage of the population, but you embrace the narrative, but yet you're ignoring all the needs and all the wants and all the cries of the base of your party, historical base of your party over years, people are like, nah, I can't really go for that.
That was my issue with Obama. Because, you know, I've admitted on this show and and otherwise that I voted for Obama twice, mainly because he was Black before I became woke and started to do my research and understand things. And it was in his second term that I was more disappointed, feeling as though like, hey, my man, on your way out, can you kind of get us a little bit? You didn't take care of a lot of other people, you know, and cool, not mad at it, but can you take over a little bit more before you slide? And never got that. And to the point where even when he came out to talk about Kamala and defending her and, you know, with the conversation with the Black men, and I saw that, I was like, well, you have some nerve, sir.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have some nerve telling us how to feel and what to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I said the same. I said on my show that day, one of the things that I said was part of the reason that Black men are not jump up and down for this historical opportunity is because of you. Like you said, you have some nerve. It's like we're looking at what you didn't do, so we're not falling for it again. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We're not believing this means anything to our everyday life. I said the same thing.
The last thing I want to add to that, because I don't want to take up too much time on this.
Okay.
We have more questions. But the last thing I wanted to add, this was something that we had brought up on an earlier show that I had also mentioned. So I'd like to see just if the trifecta connects, right? So I also talked about Black men not having a great relationship with the Black women. We all know that we respect our grandmothers and we love our mothers and stuff like that. But generally, it's been a tough love type situation, especially when the father's not in the home. And I don't know how much our Black queens understand that or connect to that, but it's kind of a love-hate, to be quite honest with you. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
And you feel like
you can take it from there.
That for Black men, like that leadership, like you think, and I'm just asking you both as Black men, like you feel like that could also be a part of like the lack of support too?
No, I'll tell you what it is. We don't care if she's Black woman or white woman. The woman thing for Black men, I think for white men, I don't think there are people out there that I'll never have a president, a female president. Yeah, there are those people out there. By and large, I don't think that's a huge issue. I think in this case, we just don't like her. Well, personally, I don't mind her. I don't dislike her as a person. I don't agree with her policies. And I don't particularly, and I'll say this, you know, I've said this before, I don't particularly think she's very bright. What I mean by that, I don't mean I'm talking about in the context of being president of the United States. You know, as a person, I don't. I think the reason why Joe Biden picked her in the first place was because she was weak. And there would be this fear of replacing him if I have a weak vice president. Presidents do that all the time. They don't pick the strongest person because it's easier to remove them especially when you're 80-something years old. So, but I think it's her specifically. Hillary Clinton, I didn't vote for her. But if we're being honest, policy aside, on paper, Hillary Clinton was the most qualified human being to ever run for president of the United States. She was a former first lady who was active in her husband's president's administration. She was a former senator. She was a secretary of state. She had foreign policy. She had domestic, and she had White House. She had the experience. Hillary Clinton suffers from the exact same thing that Stacey Abrams did in Georgia here and that Kamala Harris suffers from. And that is a lack of authenticity. And black men more than any, no, I don't mean to say more than, men, generally speaking, we respect authenticity. Papa Keith said it best. The Republicans would say something, they're going to do it, whether I agree with it or not, but they went and did it. If you talk to black men, we like people that are authentic. We don't like phonies. We don't like fakers, all of that kind of stuff. Men in general, we like it because a guy that's authentic, whether you agree with him or not, he's going to tell you what he thinks. Those are the men we respect because those are the people we grew up with. Our friends tended to be most honest with us. Man, those pants are too high. You're not going out in them high waters. Or going out, those pants look good so we can laugh at you for the next 5 hours as we run around the block. But we value authenticity because that's a trait that men have. And so we see her as just inauthentic. We don't see her as a real person. We see her saying, just like Hillary, saying whatever she has to say to get elected. And I think that's what's hurting her more than anything else. What really hurt Kamala Harris is that Joe Biden stepped down. Instead of back in January, he stepped down in late July. Had he stepped down in January, she would have had 7, 8, 9 months to introduce herself to the country. Now, it's such a short period of time. Every misstep becomes magnified because we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away. So everything becomes magnified. My thing is, I think Trump is going to win. My only fear is that I can't calculate new voters. I can't calculate newly registered voters who are excited to make history. They did not have an opportunity during Obama. They might have been 8, 9, 10 years old. Now they have this opportunity and they're, all gun ho. That's the only thing I think that beats Trump, is newly registered voters, people that are excited. But if you look at the voting population as it is now without newly registered voters, I think it's a landslide based on what I see out in the street.
Wow, thank you for that insider in your opinion on it. And just even to, back it up to your point about Black people, being conservative. A lot of us grew up in church. Like you said, a lot of us have, some of us have like the West Indian background or like their families are from like different countries where they're like more religious. So I think Black people are probably more moderate than they are liberal. I think the thing that makes us dissent from the Republican Party, because even myself, even though, I mean, on paper, Florida, you have to we have a closed primary, so you have to pick a side. And the thing for me is, even though I do understand and agree with some Republican views or values, or even just how they rock, like I like how unapologetic they are, even though it's, some of it is racist and harmful and sexist. I think the thing that those are the reasons why we can't totally get with the Republican Party, because there are policies, like just for example, us here in Florida, we see what Ron DeSantis is doing policy wise that hurt us with book banning and the don't say gay and things like that hurt, like policies.
So let me say.
So I'm like, how do you, Shelley, when you see, and we can take it away from Trump, like when we see Republican elected officials enacting policies that enlarge hurt the Black population, how do you as a Black man, because you seem very pro-Black to me, like how do you reconcile that and say, I'll tell you, be a part of this party?
I'll tell you, and I'm going to have to kind of go after this. 2 reasons. I got to pick up my bonus daughter to take her to gymnastics, and my battery is running low. So if you don't mind, I'll end it with this. Because of what you just said, neither one of those things are true. There wasn't a bill that was don't say gay. That wasn't the bill. That was a media-generated narrative to slam Ron DeSantis with. That bill had nothing to do with don't say gay. That bill was totally the opposite. The media developed that narrative to slam a Republican in Ron DeSantis. As far as book banning, the books that they're talking about are books that should be age appropriate. Again, a media narrative spun to make something that was not there. Moms for Liberty, their basic premise from the beginning was, why are second, third, and fourth graders reading about anal sex? That's the whole issue around the books. The Uncle Tom's Cabin, books like that, they're not banned in high school. They're banned in second and third grade because you're talking about beatings and whippings and rapes and things like that. So what people are starting to what people realized, we never realized it because it was, we did this. This is how we were raised. What people realized during the pandemic, particularly parents, when kids were at home learning online and not going into school, parents were looking over their kid's shoulder and they're like, oh, why are you reading a book about mommy has two daddies? Michael has two daddies, and you're only in second grade. And so that's when parents started to get more involved. Did it go too far? Absolutely. Like most things that happen in our country, right and left, they go too far. But you also have to pay attention to the media narratives around these things. When they say book bans, it's not a book ban. The books are still available. They're just age appropriate. So if you get to high school, Bluest Eye, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Autobiography of Malcolm X, these books are still available for high school students. They're just not available for second and third graders.
What about abortion rights as well, or healthcare, or legalizing marijuana? Like, these are things like certain policies around like economics, like some of the policies from Republicans, like they are harmful. Redistricting, like taking away voting privileges, or not privileges, but like making it tougher for people to vote. Like, these things affect Black people. So how do you, and Republicans are behind these policies.
Well, in Georgia, Republicans passed voting bill that Joe Biden called Jim Crow 2.0. We just had record turnout in 2020, and 2022, and now we just had a record turnout so far in early voting. Much of that is African Americans. So I don't know where anybody's rights are being restricted when you have record turnout. The other thing, abortion, abortion is not an issue for me because I'm not a woman. I will tell you, when I was in college, I did get a young lady pregnant, and we did drive to New York. I went to Syracuse. We drove to New York, had an abortion and everything. I can't tell you since then. It was probably 85, 86, something like that. That's maybe 30 something years ago. I can't tell you that 2 weeks go by that I don't think where that baby would be right now. Would he or she be in jail? Would they be president of the United States? Would they be a judge, an attorney? Like, what would they be, right? And so, but it was easy for us to make that decision. We're in college. We don't want this. Zip down to New York and have it taken care of. I think the ease of which that decision was made, maybe something could be done about that. But I'm a 15, 16. I'm right where Roe v. Wade was. 15, 16 weeks. I'm good with that. And most people in the country are good with that. I don't agree with Republicans who think the heartbeat or nothing. That's too extreme to me. It's too extreme to say until 8, 9 months. I fall 15, 16 weeks, have a good time to make a decision. Baby's developed. At that point, we can make an argument as to viability and all of that. And I think most women will say 15, 16 weeks. So abortion, to me, that's my point of view on abortion. I will disagree with my Republican people that are very extreme on abortion. Herschel Walker ran here in Georgia, and he was like, no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest. And I called him up that night when he said it, and I was like, are you crazy? That's the most crazy position to have. Like, if my daughter or wife or somebody is raped, we're finding the guy. He's not going to end up at trial, but she's definitely not carrying a baby to term. You know what I mean? I'm not going to look at a kid for the rest of my life that was developed by a rape. I mean, it's not going to happen. So I think there's very extreme positions on both sides. And I think abortion is much like reparations. abortion for women is much like reparations for black people. It's an issue that you cannot resolve, but it's also an issue that you can dangle in front of the electorate every election in order to drive turnout.
The only thing I would say, and I know you got to go, I wanted to add to that in terms of what Janae was saying, especially for us here in Florida, which you're probably well aware with as our neighbor, returning rights for our returning citizens. They did
Ex-felons, former felons?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. All four.
We did vote on that. And then DeSantis doubled back. And did he take it away or make it more difficult, Janae? I'm not 1,000%.
They didn't take it away, but they made it difficult where they have to pay like restitution and have certain things in place before they could fully get their rights back. They made it, and they made the barrier, like they made like a couple of like more barriers for them to get their right to vote.
So I have worked with many men on the ground here. We have worked with Governor Kemp on it. I'm working with the members of the legislature. I'm all for that. When you've completely completed everything, right? So you're found now if restitution wasn't in your original, sentence or whatever like that, like I don't believe that if we pass this law, now all of a sudden you create a situation where you serve 10 years for armed robbery, but before you get your right to vote back, you got to pay $1,000 to the state. Like, to me, that's ridiculous. But I'm all for you completed your sentence. You've done everything the state requires of you. You're now going home and to live a regular life, no probation, no checking in with a probation officer, nothing like that. You've done your job. Your responsibility to the state has been fully paid. You should immediately have your rights to vote come back to you. I'm totally for that. And many Republicans have voted. Let me rephrase that. Many Trump supporters, you'll be surprised, are for that as well. And do you know why? Because many of them know people or in communities where there are felons, former felons, bikers, truckers, people like that. People that own their own business got in trouble back in the day. So a lot of people are for that. I'll end with this. There's a Republican Party and then there's a Trump base. And they're not really the same group. And what I like about the Trump base is that they're making the Republican Party do things that it normally would not do. And I think that's good. And I think that's really where we need to pay more attention to as opposed to the parties. We need to pay attention to, because the Trump base are largely rural, working class, whites, blacks, but most, that base of Trump support is rural, working class whites. They've been impacted by the opioid explosion. They've been pulled over. You know what I'm saying? At a what do you call it? A roadblock. They've been pulled over for alcohol in the car. They want weed legalization. If you talk to the Trump base, they are in that camp. And I think I'll end with this. If we as African Americans can get away from race for a second, for at least one election cycle, we will find that we have the same enemy, quote unquote enemy, that they have. And that's Washington, culture, Hollywood, the elites. They hate us both equally. They divide us up. Don't like him. He's a racist. Man, you can't like him. He's immigrant. He's black. He's a Negro from New York City. If we get away from that and look at our working class, lower middle class white brothers and sisters and see that they're going through the exact same thing we are going through socially, economically, and otherwise, then we can truly have a populist movement in this country that will really change things. But as long as we allow them to divide us along racial lines while they all eat, I think we're going to be stuck. And I say that to my white Republican friends every single day.
Is there anything, Shelley, that you'd like to tell our audience how they could connect with you? Anything?
Yes. My social media, Shelley Wynter, Facebook, SHELLEY WYNTER. Twitter is Shelley Wynter 1 because I went to set it up, forgot my login, so I had to add a 1. Instagram is Shelley Wynter Show. I have a YouTube page, Shelley Wynter Show on YouTube. Please subscribe to it. I'm trying to get my YouTube numbers up so I can start making some money. So please subscribe to it. And my show is on 7 to 9 p.m. every single Monday through Friday. In Florida, you can listen to WSBradio.com. And from 7 to 9 p.m. And if you're in Atlanta and happen to be listening, I'm on 95.5 FM, 95.5 WSB Radio, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9. So please, just follow me because, I don't know how long this corporate gig is going to go. So I need to get my social medias up.
That's what's up.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate you. Love what
God
you were
bless
saying
both
about
of
the
you.
coalition, because that's what Fred Hampton was on. Thank you to Tontis, my fiance, who's your friend, who helped us book you. So thank
Shout
you.
out to Tontis.
And hopefully you could come back to the show because I would love to have you back.
Absolutely. God bless both of y'all. Keep up the good work. See you later.
Thank you, my brother.
You too.
So let me run back the disclaimer.
I see the
For all
comment.
those who weren't here from the beginning. Again, our programming is bipartisan. All right. It's very rare we get a Republican to come on our show, and not our choice. We invite a lot of people and we get what we get. We usually get what we want, but
Well, I'll say this. I've been reaching out to the Miami-Dade Republican Party and a few people from their team. We got somewhere with one of them, but it went stale. But I'll be DMing them, asking them, how can we get guests? How can we in radio silence?
Right.
Radio
So we
silence.
do try, because our audience, we have Republicans and we have Democrats in our audience as well. And thank you for mostly respecting each other in the chat room. Mostly.
I don't know what's up with Commercial Kings. I almost came through the screen because
don't call them Commercial Kings, because Commercial Kings is also Ricky, and Ricky Castro doesn't want to have anything to do with that. So call him K-Lots.
K-Lots. But that we ain't even gonna get into it. We can talk about that offline. So K-Lots is just being real nasty in the comments. And this is what I don't like about some people when they get so extreme with politics. It's like, keep it on the policies. If you think a policy is stupid, say that. When you start talking about people's sexuality, their looks, and all of that stuff, like, it's just unnecessary. It's rude and it's nasty.
Well, it's ignorance, and that's my friend. But it is what it is, right?
I'm like, why do that? Like, why are we? Child, okay.
Just gonna. How we always say, there's always one, right? So K-Lox is our one. So she need a drink after that. So again, just to explain it and be done with it, we let them talk. We're not CNN, we're not MSNBC, we're not Fox News. You understand? We let him talk, and that's the type of podcast that we choose to run. We'll challenge things or fact check certain things if we need to. You know what I mean? To keep things on the up and up, but we want to hear other people's perspective. And to be honest with you, it goes back to this thing I said in the podcast. We're more alike than we are really different. There's a lot of things that some of y'all might be saying, that boy wild is crazy. But at the end of the day, he never showed us that he was a black Republican that wasn't pro-black, right? And I know somebody put anti-black, but
I don't think Shelley's anti-black.
Yeah, I don't think he's anti-black, but we should just try to practice being open to what other people have to say. You don't have to agree with it. You know what I'm saying? But I learned from that interview. I really did. And I've even confessed to y'all in my audience that I've felt trapped between both. And that's what I think a lot of it is. And Janae, you even said it in the podcast as well. You said, even though it's sexist and racist or whatever, there are still things you do like about the Republican Party. You know what I mean? So two things can be right at the same time, maybe, is another way of also saying it. So we decided to run our podcast in this manner, allow him to talk about his history, talk about how he views things, and then we'll chime in to ask, because we wanted to have a black Republican who loves Trump's perspective on this show, and was glad to do it, and probably had more viewers than, I don't know, I couldn't even see, but
Yeah, like,
more
and I,
engagement for sure on the
yeah, like
comments. So
he
you know,
definitely it, and here's the thing about that. And as for me as a journalist, and the more I become an entrepreneur, I feel like I'm less and less of one. But that's my own guilt. But if I don't know something for sure, if I don't have an article, if I don't have data, if I don't have something to come back something up, I don't go in because I have nothing to support that. Also, too, like you said, the format of our show is to let people talk and explain their point of views. And we've been getting comments and things, and one of our OGs and people that we love, Dwight, is chiming in one of our group chats, and he's like, "Look, he gave like a Trump fan and a fan girl, but he articulated his points, and that's one thing too. I wouldn't have somebody that is totally just defamatory and just wants to say insults about Democrats or liberals or whatever, and just want to just spew all lies. A lot of that stuff Shelley was saying wasn't totally accurate to me, like the "Don't Say Gay" bill. Yeah, that's not the name of the bill. That was the nickname, and I got his point, but we do know that it was harmful. So it's like there are certain things where, like, I think politically and certain people on each side like pull strings. But for me, why I wanted to have Shelley on the show, and it's interesting, somebody said Roland Martin would have shut him up. Roland Martin did shut him up. But that's why I actually saw Shelley for the first time on Roland Martin's show. But I thought he had a fair and balanced view as a Republican. Like, I like the fact that he could look at something and say, hey, that wasn't cool. That wasn't stupid. I don't agree with that. So it wasn't like a blind sheep thing. And I really do feel like he actually explained his point of why he's a Republican. Like, I actually really get why it is, and it makes sense. Do I agree with everything? No, but I thought it was really, if we were going to kick it off with a Republican guest, the first one, I think he was a really good one because he was able to explain why he believes what he believes, why he's voting what he's voting for. Even if you feel like some things is extreme or like could be crazy, he's still like, yeah, I'm rocking with him because of this, and this is what I stand for. And I feel like, just like I think K-Lox or Cool Video said, like, they were grateful that we were even willing to even have somebody from the other side of the aisle or a different perspective to come on the show. And honestly, I wish we could have an independent Green Party, every person, somebody who believes in anti-establishment. Like, I want to hear people's political views on government and policy. And I feel like somewhere in the middle, we all can meet and have a harmonious society. But we don't ever get a chance to even get to hear the other people out. Like, it's always like, and that's the thing, I was a little bit annoyed. And I don't know if you guys saw, like, we didn't mention this in our interview, but Shelley went viral for calling people house African field Negroes and house Negroes. And he was saying that he said the house Negroes are voting for Kamala and the field Negroes are voting for Trump. And you can go look at that clip. But one thing I didn't like about that clip was I wanted to hear more about why he said that. Like, I wanted to know why he like thought that way. And we didn't get a chance to get into it with him, but that's the thing I didn't like. Even his interview on Roland Martin, even though he went in on certain things and was holding his own for a little bit, but Roland cuts you off. But he was, I wanted to hear more why he thought that way. Like, and I feel like when he's on platforms, because it's so extreme, and I do feel like he's in media, so I feel like he knows what could get people going. But I do want to hear his logic behind it. And I feel like he was able to do that here. And so I thought it was a good interview. Certain things, y'all saw me, I couldn't hold my face. I was like, Kamala is, how do you mean she's not? She's one of the most qualified candidates we've had. But I'm going to let you cook and let you do what you want to, we asked you a question and you explaining it. But I did not agree with a lot of that. And even him trying to back up the Haitian thing where it's like, well, black people said it. And I said, and black people are dead ass wrong too. Like, it's still racist when you talking about it. And you can't care for one thing over the other. To me, I'm a person like, you care about people, you care about people. Like, you can't pick and choose who you care more about or who deserve more grace or understanding or equity or whatever, because it's like, sir, so it's okay for the Haitians to get beat up and have issues because these people so-called lost their jobs in Springfield, Ohio. Like, that's when we totally don't agree. Yes, Cool Video, she is one of the most qualified candidates. Yes.
Okay,
I stand on that.
That's what's up. So listen, thank you for your understanding of us having this guest. And again, there's some people in the chat room that agree with Shelley Winters and sees things as he sees it. So, you know, we're here to serve all and try to get a better perspective and understanding. I related to a lot, I guess, because of his age. I know he's older than me, but you know, his upbringing in New York, the whole Caribbean diaspora, the school he went to, the time frame of like him actually being at that Diana Ross concert. You know, I was at the same one, and talking about the, you know, Central Park 5 and all these different things. And you know, so I connected with him on those levels. Almost, you know, like likable, like,
Yeah, like a nostalgic thing.
like,
I saw it in your eyes.
yeah, like I don't have to agree with him on certain things, but I could understand. And
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of people don't want to admit it. Listen, I have no problem admitting, anybody in this chat room, anybody knows, when I'm wrong or when I misunderstand something. I don't try to be perfect, and I don't expect you to be perfect. So my expectations based on those things are very low. You understand? I more want to understand and learn so I can move forward as a better person for myself. You know what I'm saying? And if I happen to be dating you or a friend of yours, then I'll move forward as a better person for you as well. So, you know, I don't have a problem admitting that I went through that experience of, you know, wanting to be a Republican because I felt Democrats were so weak and embarrassing. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of Dems feel that way, but they just have to pretend that it's not what it fucking is. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't even say they pretending. It's like,
but they are. They are, because you know it sucks. You know what it is, but you have to play along because you're a part of a team. It's just like team sports, right? You may not agree with somebody that's your teammate, but you got to pretend at that moment while you know, in the game, that everything they do is just right. They just got that right.
I will say this, and I don't know what elected official Democrats believe, but I would say the everyday person is more probably, like I said, leans more moderate. And if there was a third party option that didn't have the bullshit of both of these parties, most people probably would go with it. And just to quote our friend again, who said it on our podcast, that the largest voting party in Florida is non-party affiliate. That says volumes, and it's going to always say volumes to me. That means people don't like either one. I personally don't like either party. But I am identified with Democrat because their policies are closer to the things that I want. But I don't like their foreign policy issues. I don't like the wars and the money that we spend on them. I don't like the lack of development quick enough for Black people to have equity in this country. However, as a Black person, I cannot go in good faith, go sit under a Republican tent with that racist and sexist and homophobic BS. Like, that's the part that really draws the line. And I think people aren't like saying that the Democrats are these amazing people, because they have their flaws, and I low-key feel like on a level they're racist as well. But I think that the fact that the Republicans are overtly like, they have policies that don't benefit Black people, and they do it intentionally, that's enough for me to be like, nah, I can't rock with y'all. Y'all don't like women, y'all don't like Black people, y'all don't like, you know, the LGBTQ. I'm about to trip on the words. My family, the LGBTs, they don't like them, and I can't sit over there in good faith and be like, I'm gonna just ignore all of that hatred. Because here's the thing, like, I'm mad that we didn't bring up this point during Shelley's point about Donald Trump's racist views, not renting to Black people. You know, that's racist. The thing that he did at Central Park 5, that was racist and harmful. The thing he's saying about the Haitians, grabbing a woman by the pussy, like, these things are not only like wrong, but they're hurtful to people. And I can't sit and just ignore those very harmful things because I like how bold they are, or some economic choices.
Yeah, but
money. I can't ignore the human part because of money. Like, that to me, what am I then, a robot? Like,
no, I get it, but Dems be doing trash shit too. You know what I'm saying? And Dems put in things that I think also enable us. You know what I'm saying? And when I say
they're not trying to make me a slave.
kind of though. Like low key, kind of. Because
the Democrats are trying to make me a slave.
Meaning that if you're enabling something, people enable for a level of control. So even a mother who enables their child is because they want to feel like they got that hold on the child. That's why. So that's where, like, again, I have split views. Am I rocking Dems? For sure. And I don't even talk like that on this podcast, but just to be clear, for sure. But like, give me an opportunity instead of a handout. Like, I'm gonna stand on that all day, because the things that we have done as Black people, under the duress that we have to do it under, and still are able. Can you imagine if we were given more opportunities than handouts, where we would be collectively as a people? This is all meant to control. Oh, daddy, another one, thanks. You know, like, it's meant to control you. Whereas if it was more opportunities being given than there was handouts, we would thrive in that space. We'll see things differently. We won't feel that.
You feel like Republicans give us handouts? I mean, opportunities?
I'm not saying Republicans do anything. I'm just saying I was strictly talking about the Dems more with the handouts. I'm not saying that the Republicans are going to make it better or anything. I just don't like enabling. I don't like enabling. I just think it's like a curse. You know what I mean?
I don't think that. I get where you're saying enabling. I don't view the political parties like that. I view the Democrats as, we ain't gonna help you, but we not finna mess with y'all. We finna leave y'all alone. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own struggle and whatever, figure it out. I'm not gonna help you. I feel like this is how I view the two parties. Democrats to me is like, we ain't finna help y'all in the sense of like, we're not finna go out of our way to give you this equity. Republicans to me are, I'm going to stop you and hold you back. And to me, that's the difference. It's like Democrats are kind of like, yeah, we did some effed up stuff. Our party actually used to be something different. Now we've transformed into something else, whatever. We're not going to be, we're not going to do the most. We're going to, you know, I feel like the Democrats do no harm and Republicans do harm. And to both of them are still problematic in a sense. One, like somebody said, Alden, I think billionaires run these two parties. So on a deeper level, they're both BS. But I feel like, at least with a Democrat, I know you're not going to put a policy in place that's going to inhibit me, that's going to harm me. You're just not going to help me in a real way. So I got to figure it out. I got to pull myself up out of bootstraps. I got to do what I got to do. And if I play the game right, maybe one lucky white ally may help me come up. You know, like, they're not going to harm me. I feel like Republicans have policies that specifically harm me, i.e. the abortion ban, i.e. don't say gay, i.e. book banning, i.e. the healthcare, i.e. I could keep going on and on and on, like, about certain things. And here's the thing about the Democrats, that because Americans are so arrogant and so sheltered, we don't see the bullshit they do and the policies that they do war-wise. Like, what they do in other countries as, you know, the foreign power and the world's police. And I actually agree with Shelley on that. Like, America being the world police is very problematic. And now that I started getting into world affairs, and I'm like more on this thing of like us as a human race as one, and how do we treat each other as people. And I've been really into the Ta-Nehisi Coates's interviews about The Message, his new book about the Jewish and Palestinian.
Shout out to him. Mm-hmm.
Love Ta-Nehisi Coates. I'm like, I've been fangirling over him. And so when he started breaking down that Israel looks like Jim Crow South, it looks like apartheid in South Africa. And I started really like digging into some of the like TikTok is really, you know, pro-Palestinian, or like just different articles. I'm like, yo, like, this is not cool. And even when like we can't defend, we're not ever saying what Hamas or the extremists are doing from Palestine is okay. But when I see kids and innocent people getting bombed because you're looking for this one extreme group, to me, I'm like, you can't ever say that's okay. And he has this thing about like, he made an example of like abolition. He's like, I don't believe in a death penalty. He's like, I don't believe what it is. Like, I don't care what the person did. I don't believe in a death penalty. He's like, so you have to be that way about segregation or Jim Crow. He was like, you can't be like, it's okay in Israel because of the Palestinians did this. Like, is it okay or not? Like, just on a human level. And I think we kind of pick and choose certain things on what we feel like, or what's the exception. And that's why I say the two-party system here in the United States is BS. I don't like it. I do feel like both parties are hella problematic. I just feel like the Democrats do less harm. How about that? Than the Republicans.
All right. We never got a chance to talk about this, but you know, we got 2 episodes left. The last one is going to be right after the election, and the next one's already booked. So it is maybe my opportunity. You know, I never talked about the Israel Hamas situation, and I know a lot of
because you ain't want us to get stopped before we got started.
I know, right? A lot of people, including my children, are, you know, pro Palestine and stuff like that. So, you know, again, I have a different perspective of how I see things, and I'm only speaking, you know, for me. There's so many ways to look at this situation that I feel like we don't, right? I feel like my kids and the generation, they need something to fight and believe in with the platforms that they use and have. And it's great, but I think it's the wrong shit. Like, you're worried about the wrong thing. There's so many injustices and things happening right here in front of you on a daily basis. And you want to be so patriotic for Palestine, you know, Palestinian flags and all these different things and all of that. And I can't control that, but I think it's goofy. It's like so goofy to me.
You think
all right?
pro-Palestine is goofy? Okay, let me
goofy. All right, because at the end of the day, I see stuff like LGBT for Palestine.
Would they accept them?
Explain that to me. You understand? You goofy. That's goofy. Like, the baby's part in any scenario, it's an issue. But hold up. We having Rolling Loud in Israel, the Rolling Loud version of Israel. We had Rolling Loud. And any country decides they want to just come inside a Rolling Loud, kidnap adults, babies, could be 100 people, could be 10 people that they choose to kidnap in the name of Hamas. What is America going to do, Janae?
We're going to wipe that country off the face of the earth.
So, I'm trying to, STFU. like, come on, ladies and gentlemen, don't be so passionate to be behind something that it allows you to be goofy. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to fight for Liberty City all day, a place that I have even grew up in, right? I'll fight for that and gun violence and getting people out to vote right here in South Florida, right here in Miramar, Pembroke Pines, Liberty City, Overtown, all day before you see me put out anything about a Palestine and this and that. We got kids dying here in South Florida daily based on abuse, based on shootings and all of these different things, right, ladies and gentlemen? But this is what we gonna collectively come together and do. Not to mention Hamas is doing that to their own people. They don't care about their people. Have you thought of that part of things? Have you thought about the fact that they can give up those hostages and Israel said it'll be done, and they're like, nah, we'll hold on to you killed how many babies and kids? Keep it going. Run up the tab. We're gonna hold on to these people here because we can. Like, don't be blinded by the hype. Like, look at things for what they are. Like, I tell you, and anybody who knows me, I say it all the time. I like to believe I have a PhD in common sense. You know, and I'm just not following the herd. I'm sorry. So that's how I view it. I have Palestinian people that I know that I respect, including Khaled. And I have Jewish people who I know and respect. Attorney Big Al. You understand what I'm saying? I understand both sides of things, but I'm going to use my common sense to understand if something is goofy, it's just goofy. So I just brought up those points to just, you know, to say, like, it's unfortunate, yes, babies and children, but I'm not anti-Israel for sure. And I'm not pro-Palestine for sure.
I actually agree with you. I actually agree with you. And that's actually been my foreign policy kind of like personal policy. And not that I don't try to, you know, stay up to date. Like I do like light research and reading on it. But for me, everything is local. I have a whole company called Hilo News, hyperlocal. And to me, I feel like you can't help outside until you help inside. And so I feel like, to me, but I do feel like this two things can be true or two things can be done at the same time. I cannot like what's going on in the Middle East and how innocent people are being killed in Palestine and Israel. The what Ta-Nehisi Coates said is like what he perceives as a Jim Crow state in Israel on how they treat Palestinians. You know, I don't like Hamas in their extreme ways. Like, I don't like any of that. But I also feel like I cannot like those things and stand up for those things. And then I can also say, you know what? I don't like the fact that somebody got killed on 54th Street. I don't like the fact that there's a housing project with that's supposed to be new, but the fucking roof is coming off and there's water coming through and people living like they're in a third world country. So I feel like I put more of my energy into that because I also feel like this, and I think this is part of too the argument with people who are pro Palestine or want, you know, the U.S. to kind of back out and stop providing weapons and stuff like that. There's a whole foreign policy and thing that we can't even get into that people don't understand, that us as the world powers, like we have to do certain things to have America, but we could get into that in a whole other episode. But I feel like what they're saying on a certain level too is we fund certain things outside of the country. We see billions and hundreds of millions of dollars leaving the country to go help aid other ones, and we're like, yo, it's a homeless person that right on the street outside, like right on the street outside. There are people killing each other here. There are people that don't have here.
How about our veterans? The ones who actually use to fight all of this stuff. How about them?
So we're like, can that money just come into the country first and figure out our stuff before we start going and helping everybody else? But I do understand, in order for us to remain the world superpower, we have to maintain certain level of, I guess, what they probably would call safety, where if they feel like somebody's going to rise up and be a dictator in a certain part of the world where we may have resources or want something, we're going to go send weapons. We're going to make sure that that's secure. And that's a part of that. Like, there's a whole level to that foreign policy shit.
Right, and that's the reality to your point. Yeah.
But I do agree to your point that I think we should be more local focused, and I feel like we'll be able to see more change, and I feel like then we'll be able to help more people. But I don't feel like it's goofy because you are pro-Palestine, because I'm like, I feel like
maybe I took it a little far.
Here's the thing. No, I don't want to change your mind. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's goofy. I think you could be both of those things. I just don't. Here's the thing. I don't like the extreme part of either part of that.
Right.
Like, I don't like the extreme part of identity politics here in America. Like, I feel like we're all in the middle somewhere. And I feel like when it comes so extreme and I can't hear what nobody says,
right.
When you like feeling like tiptoeing on like, ooh, we shouldn't say that. Like, my friend Julius made a comment in the chat just now. He was like, oh, Papa keep trying to get the show shut down before y'all even get started. Like, the fact that we feel like we can't even have a conversation where we're not insulting somebody, like, that is a problem to me. Like, it's just the extreme part of all of it.
Both sides, absolutely.
To me, that's the goofy part. If anyone's goofy, like, that's goofy when you're so extreme where you can't hear somebody out.
That's what's up, Janae. We had a really good show, man. I feel like we keep outdoing ourselves. We have a representative for Congress going to be in our next show that we're looking forward to. So we've kind of covered everything like we promised. I love the fact that we're doing what we promised, right? So we said we were going to get you. Yeah, we said we were going to get you bigger candidates, not bigger like in the sense of like Senate, Congress.
Yeah, we did say that we wanted the U.S. level, federal level,
right, for the election that's coming up, now versus the primary when we did Series 1. And then we got you a Black Republican, and then of course we're going to end out the show 2 weeks from now with the post-election and discussing, first 100 days. What do we think is going to happen? What are we going to concern about? Who's moving out of the country?
We need to figure out how to do that. I want that to really be about the audience and the people watching us. And I'm like, let's figure out how to do it like you radio. I want some call-in.
Well, what we could do is we can actually open it up and bring them in the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Come and join us. They can co-host with us. So
yeah, we'll
promote it in that way so they can get ready.
Yeah, so y'all come in because I want people to be able to, because I feel like it's gonna be some moments where people feel like they need a forum to let their voice heard. And I love that part of like the Breakfast Club where they're like, get it off your chest. So we want y'all to pretty much get it off y'all chest, shout it out, let us know how you feeling about the election results, and pretty much come be our co-host with us and let us know. Like that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. I got to shout out. We got a special guest in the chat room that we both adore. Look, and she just popped up as I was about to big her up. Shout out to Faith. She gave both of us the opportunity to moderate. I happen to be following in your footsteps in that regard. You moderated District
3, Keon Hardeman and Audrey Edmondson, and I did Property Appraiser for the Miami Foundation. I actually shared your the panel that you moderated. Which was the race?
Thank you, Sheriff, Miami-Dade County Sheriff. First time since 1966 that we're voting for a sheriff. Well, they're voting for a sheriff in Miami-Dade County. So I want to say thank you to Faith, Miami Foundation, and just all the good stuff that she's doing and how she's connecting with the young hip people, and giving us opportunities to really, ask some questions and be a part of the democracy. It means a lot to us, Faith, and we appreciate it.
Definitely.
And we just definitely want to show you some love. Well, you helped us, Faith, okay?
I'm sure we weren't the first choice. Faith is very intentional about how she's been making sure there's a balance in what the Miami Foundation does. But that whole team, like the last 4 years, the leadership there under Rebecca Fishman-Lispy and the whole team over there, like, to me, they've been really intentional on how they're trying to reach out to the community and it not just be the same people all the time.
Right.
That's a sidebar.
Oh, and one more shout out, Janae. I want to shout out everybody who I was having a problem with my donate button on Just Vote period. So I was explaining in the beginning that for some reason this series that we've been doing, we're up to episode 6. So at the beginning of this one, I said, hey, we've done 5 already, and I've asked people to help contribute and donate. And I haven't seen anything, not even from my family members. So I thought maybe the donation button was broken on my website. So I asked people to please just $5. Just do $5. It ain't gonna break you. You know what I'm saying? A little bag of something if you're voting yes 3. Just to make sure that the donation button is working, So some people did it. I haven't got a chance to check yet, but if you haven't done it yet, just do me a favor, go to justvoteperiod.com and you'll see the donation button, all right, in the menu. Just can you hit the button and just, while you're there, just donate $5. $5, right? Just so I can make sure $5. I can make sure that the button is working. And I can't wait to go on the radio tomorrow on 103.5 The Beat and say, wow, and talk about the experience of my donation button. $5, justvoteperiod.com, please.
Yes. Y'all make sure y'all support us. And PK, this has been an amazing show. I'm gonna need you to be the show husband and get K-Locks together in the comments, because I'm gonna keep it cute, but tell him to keep it cute, PK.
Just block his ass. It's simple. I can't, ultimately I can't tell a grown man what to do.
I'm about to windmill, but you could tell him to keep it cute with Janae. You could tell him to keep it cute with Janae now.
Yeah, K-Locks, you got the right one.
Calling me brainwashed. I'm sitting here showing how I see both sides of it, and I'm brainwashed, boy. But it's turned into something else, and I turned into a real Miami, real Carrot City on your motherfucking ass,
boy. Please, Derica, just hit that button. So the show ain't got to go there. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. We're like over 2 hours at this point. Not that we have a time limit. The vibe was there. The energy was there. The conversation was there. And we're glad that you stuck around for it.
Leveling up. The shows are great.
Yeah. Definitely leveling up. Also, we want to invite everybody who's in the South Florida area to our election night party. All right. So no matter who you're rooting for, we having a party at PS Social in Wynwood, and we're inviting everyone. We're gonna have free food. We're gonna have games, giveaways, prizes. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna have music as well. It's a party, so we're gonna vibe. We got DJ Fly Guy. We got DJ Tight. I got that so Janae can fly into town for that one. So
look, I'm in Miami now. I did 2 episodes from Miami.
No, I did. Let's hope we can keep you or get you back for election night. All right, Tantas, help me out here. But and then we can do our show maybe together the next day. That'll be a good way to end. Come on, Tantas.
You know what? I did think about that. And while we talking about that, which is I want to do a quick shout out to the Miss Black Florida USA Scholarship Pageant Organization. I'm the vice president. So today I was at the City of Miami Gardens City Council meeting presenting our Miss Black Miami Gardens talented teen. Say that 10 times fast. She's representing Miami Gardens, teenager Tatiana Davis. She's amazing. And so I wanted to give a shout out to our organization. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, come check us out on November 9th and 10th, that we're going to have our state competition. Almost 40 women from across the state are going to be competing for the state title and hopefully go on to Miss Black USA to win the national title. I'm claiming it. We're going to have a Miami Gardens resident that goes all the way from state to the national title. But for me, that's something that's a passion project of mine. If anybody knows me, I'm a former pageant girl. I go way back in this. I ain't gonna tell y'all what my title was and how long ago it was. I don't need y'all knowing all my tea. No, I was Miss Miami Gardens 2011. And so for me, this is a something that's dear to my heart, and I want y'all to support it. And if you can't, go to MissBlackFlorida USA.com or go to their Instagram page to find a website if I'm saying it wrong, Miss Black Florida USA, and make a donation, like he said, or support us. Go like, go follow the page, and go support the Black women. We are the largest. The pageant system is the largest scholarship pageant for Black women in the country, and we're actually the largest scholarship pageant for Black women in the state of Florida. So our particular organization is the largest one. And so thank you guys for supporting us. And the reason why I brought that up is because PK, that's that weekend. So I've been thinking about election night and trying to figure out how I will make that work.
So you'll be in Tampa that weekend prior.
Thursday, I'm supposed to go to Tampa, but that means I need to spend the whole fucking week in Florida. And I don't know if I want to do that.
Come on, till Wednesday. You can leave Thursday.
But that means I gotta leave from here to Tampa because there's no. I'm going to Tampa.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Because I did think about doing the last one together in person and figuring out what.
That'll be nice, especially if you're gonna do that Q&A and get people involved. It'll be kind of cool.
Then to me, okay. Well, how about this? And let's see if the people like it. Can we do it at PS Social that night? Because then at least I get a chance to go back to Charlotte and then go to Tampa from there.
Yeah, we can. We can.
Okay.
It might be nice to do it because Just Vote Period's office is in PS Social. It might be nice to do it in our office, and then we can pull people from the party to come in there and do it and do it. We'll just pick a time where we're able to see who wins. So we'll probably do it from like early.
Or can we just set up after the election results and have it like live there?
We can do that too.
That's the fun. I got to get us. Let's talk. Let's. Okay.
All right.
How about this right now?
We brainstorming with our audience.
I know, but the audience is letting us know. Y'all pull up the PS Social though for the watch party. That's the baseline thing. Pull up.
All right. So are we gonna run the sponsorship thing?
We can come. I mean, they didn't pay for that, but we'll get them some added value.
Let's give them some added value. So thank you so much for joining us. Please stick around and watch the advertisements. These are people who are sponsoring our podcast, and we're so happy to have them. So excited. Thank you again, Janae, for making that happen and landing that. All right. We'll see.
And make
you,
sure you like,
next
subscribe,
week.
and share this video, and so we can get more people to That Part Podcast as we continue to grow our brand and our reach, and that helps us with the algorithm. Thank y'all as always. Cool videos and K-Locks. Y'all gonna have to see me because I'm swinging on y'all. Talk about me being brainwashed, I love y'all. But I love y'all for watching. Thank you, family. Thank y'all for tuning in. See y'all next week.
Voting yes for Watson Island is an investment in us. With $9 million in funding for affordable housing, thousands of jobs for our community, and space for nonprofit organizations that support us. Our community wins when we vote yes for Watson Island. Voting yes means hundreds of new jobs, $15 million in affordable housing investments, and a new public park for all residents. Join community leaders in voting yes for Watson Island Park number 292 by November 5th.